Mira walked through the small town market with a quiet smile on her face. It was a normal day for her. The air smelled like fresh bread, fruit, and warm sunlight. People were moving around, talking, laughing, and buying things for their homes. Mira carried a small list in her hand. She only needed a few things: milk, bread, and some vegetables. Nothing special. While she waited in line near the fruit stall, she noticed someone standing a little apart from the others. He was an old man with a long coat and a heavy bag in his hand. His shoulders were bent, like he was tired or in pain. His hair was white and wild, falling in soft waves around his face. But the strangest thing was his hands. Mira saw scales on them, faint but real, like old stone mixed with soft colors. She blinked, thinking her eyes were tricking her. Maybe the light was strange. The old man moved slowly to the counter. He placed a few items down: bread, small packets of soup, and a box of tea. He tried to smile at the cashier, but it looked weak and unsure. The cashier looked at him in a confused way, almost uncomfortable. The old man took out his payment card and tapped it. The machine beeped. Nothing happened. He tried again. Another failed beep. The line behind him began to grow, and people started whispering. Who is he? Look at his hands. Maybe he's dangerous. Why does he look like that? The whispers were not quiet. People stared. A few took small steps back. The old man looked down, embarrassed. His hands shook as he tried the card again. The machine beeped a third time, loud and final. Card declined. The cashier said, sounding annoyed, "Do you have another method of payment?" The old man opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. He touched his chest, as if he was feeling tightness there. He looked tired, hungry, and very alone. Mira stepped forward before she even thought about it. Something inside her pushed her feet forward. Maybe it was the way he looked so sad, or maybe it was simply the right thing to do. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'll pay for him." Everyone turned to look at her. Some looked confused, some surprised. The cashier hesitated, then nodded. Mira took out her money and paid for the old man's groceries. The total wasn't much. She didn't mind. The old man lifted his head slowly. His eyes were not normal. They were deep gold, shining softly like warm firelight. For a moment, they almost glowed, but then the glow faded. He looked at Mira with a mix of surprise and emotion. He opened his mouth again, but this time his voice came out, soft, rough, and old. "You helped me," he said quietly, like he could not believe it. Mira smiled kindly. "Of course. You look like you needed help." He stared at her for a long moment, as if trying to understand her. Then he gave a small nod. "Thank you," he said. My name is Eros." Mira noticed that when he said his name, his voice carried a strange echo, like a whisper wind behind it. But she ignored it. Maybe he had an unusual accent. "I'm Mira," she said. "It's nothing, really." "No," Eros replied, his golden eyes shining again for a second. "It is not nothing." He took the grocery bag with slow, careful hands. His scales glimmered under the light. Mira wondered what kind of skin condition would make hands look like that, but she did not ask. She did not want to make him uncomfortable. "Do you live nearby?" she asked gently. Eros hesitated. "I live far enough," he said, choosing his words like stepping stones. "I can carry this. You have already done more than enough." Mira nodded, though she felt worried about him. He looked so frail, almost too weak to walk. But he lifted the bag and straightened a little. "Be safe," she said with a warm smile. Eros looked at her again, and something shifted in his expression. It was as if he was seeing something more in her, something important, something rare. "You too," he said softly. "Be safe always." Then he turned and walked away, his steps slow but steady. Mira watched him for a moment before picking up her own groceries and heading home. She did not know why, but she felt like the moment mattered. She felt like she had just done something bigger than paying a few coins for someone. But she shook the thought away. Maybe she was overthinking. On her way home, Mira walked past the houses, the small shops, the playground where kids were laughing. Everything felt normal again. But inside her heart, a tiny spark of curiosity remained. Who was that man? Why did his eyes shine like that? Why was he so mysterious? Meanwhile, far behind the market, the roast walked toward the edge of town. Once the buildings were far behind him, he stopped near a cluster of trees. He placed his hand against a large stone and a soft light flickered. The stone shifted and parted, revealing a hidden path. Thoreau stepped inside. His shoulders relaxed. His breathing grew stronger. A faint glow returned to his scales. He held the grocery bag like it was something precious. "She helped me," he whispered in the dark. "A human helped me." He closed his eyes, and for the first time in many years, he felt hope. Mira walked into her home and set her groceries on the table. She hummed softly, thinking it had been a simple day. She had no idea that the small act of kindness she did would soon change her entire life. She had no idea that far above the planet, a fleet was scanning the galaxy. She had no idea that her name would soon be known far beyond Earth. She only knew she helped a tired old man at the market, and that was enough for her. Thoreau walked slowly through the hidden tunnel beneath the trees. The dim blue lights glowed as he passed, sensing his presence. The air inside was cool and calm, different from the warm sunlight of the town above. Here, he could breathe more easily. Here, he did not need to hide his true form. When he reached the end of the tunnel, a large chamber opened before him. It was shaped like a circle, with smooth metal walls that hummed with quiet power. In the center sat a nest-like bed made of strange crystal threads, glowing soft gold. This was where he could rest. This was where he could be himself. Thoreau placed the grocery bag on a stone table and took a slow breath. His old bones ached. His wings, hidden under the long coat, felt tight and weak. He let the coat fall to the ground. The moment it touched the floor, his form shifted. His skin shimmered. The scales on his hands spread up his arms like living fire. His spine straightened. His shoulders broadened. In seconds, he was no longer a hunched old man. He was a dragon, not large like the ancient story said. His true form was smaller now, weakened by age. His wings were thin and cracked, glowing with faint light. His tail curled tiredly behind him. But his eyes still carried the deep gold glow of his kind. "Just a little longer," he whispered to himself. He moved slowly to the crystal nest and sat down. Even as a dragon, he looked old, too old for his journey, too old for the mission he had taken on alone. He closed his eyes and remembered Myra's face. She had not looked scared. She had not stared in disgust. She had helped him without question. Humans were strange, so simple, but so full of unexpected heart. "I did not think I would meet one like her," he murmured. For a moment, he let the warmth of the memories settle inside him. Then he opened his eyes and turned toward a glowing panel on the wall. With a gentle tap of his claw, the panel lit up, showing strange symbols from his home star. A small hologram floated up. It showed a large, shining creature, another dragon, young, strong, and full of energy. "Elder Thoreau," the hologram said, bowing its head. "Your silence shows your strength is fading. We worry for you." Thoreau sighed. "My strength is not important. The mission is—" The hologram flickered. "You were not supposed to reveal yourself to humans. You were only meant to watch from afar." "I did not reveal myself," Thoreau said calmly. "She only saw an old man. That is risky enough." Thoreau gave a small smile. "Perhaps, but she helped me. She showed kindness to someone who looked different. That means something." The young dragon looked confused. "You speak of humans like they are special. They are simple beings." Thoreau shook his head. "No, they are more than that. They surprise us. They surprise the galaxy. And I believe she will be important." The hologram hesitated. "Important how?" Thoreau looked at the grocery bag she had paid for. Small items, simple food. But to him it felt like a treasure. "I am not sure yet," he said softly. "But I feel it." The hologram dimmed. "You must be careful. The Council is growing restless. They sense danger approaching Earth. If they discover your location—" "I know," Thoreau said quietly. "That is why I must continue watching." The hologram nodded and then faded away. Thoreau rubbed his tired eyes with the back of his claw. His body trembled slightly. He was running out of time. His mission was supposed to be easy: observe the planet, ensure no hostile species targeted it, and report back when necessary. But something had changed. Something dark was moving in the stars. He had felt it for months. A quiet threat, a shadow that hunted weak planets. And Earth, with its young races and limited defenses, was in danger. He had stayed longer than he should have. His energy was draining, but he could not leave. Not yet. He stood up, stretching his wings. The crystals in the nest hummed softly, sensing his weakness and offering warmth. He touched the nest gently. "Soon," he whispered, "just a little longer." Then he picked up the grocery bag. It was such a small thing, but it made him feel cared for. Even after centuries, he had never expected kindness from a stranger, especially a human. He placed the items neatly on a shelf: tea, soup packets, bread. He smiled to himself as he brewed the tea, letting the warm scent fill the chamber. "She is kind," he whispered again. "I hope the galaxy does not break her kindness." Far above Earth, in cold, silent space, something massive moved. Something with metal skin and sharp weapons. Something that scanned planets for new prey. It had noticed Earth. It had also noticed an unusual energy pulse coming from Theros' hidden chamber, a pulse that belonged to a dragon. Meanwhile, Mira sat in her small kitchen at home, sipping tea. She thought about the old man again. Something about him felt different, like he carried a heavy story. She wished she could have helped him more. She had no idea that the person she helped was not human at all. She had no idea that her small town was being watched from space. And she had no idea that her life was about to change forever, all because she paid for an old man's groceries. Far beneath the trees, Thoreau sipped his tea and closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt hope, but he also felt the danger crawling closer. He knew that soon he would have to make a choice: protect himself or protect the girl who had shown him kindness. Mira was washing dishes when the first sound reached her. It was soft at first, almost like distant thunder rolling across the sky. She paused, holding a plate under running water, and listened carefully. The sound grew deeper, heavier, as if something huge was moving far above the clouds. Then the ground trembled. The plate slipped from her hands and clattered into the sink. Mira stepped back in surprise. Nothing ever shook in her quiet little town. Not the roads, not the houses, not even during storms. She hurried to the window and pushed the curtains aside. The sky outside was glowing, not with sunlight, not with lightning, but with bright streams of blue and silver falling from above like giant beams. They spread across the sky, cutting through the clouds with sharp light. Myra's eyes widened. What is that?" Around her, neighbors stepped out of their homes. People pointed at the sky. Some took out their phones. The dogs barked nervously. Then the sound grew louder, so loud she felt it vibrate in her chest. A shadow fell over her house. She rushed to the front door, opened it, and froze. Something enormous was descending from the sky. Something shaped like a ship, but not like anything she had ever seen. It was long and curved, with smooth metal that shone like liquid silver. Blue wings of light stretched out along its sides. It landed slowly on the road, right in front of her house. The ground shook again as it touched the earth. Her breath caught in her throat. Then another ship followed, and another, and another. Within moments, 12 giant starships formed a perfect circle around her home. Their engines hummed softly, and lights flickered in strange patterns across their surfaces. The air became still, heavy with energy, as if time itself held its breath. Neighbors screamed. Some ran inside their homes. Others watched in stunned silence. Mira felt her heart pound hard, but she did not run. She stood at her door, gripping the frame tightly. A ramp opened from the nearest ship. A group of tall, armored figures stepped out. Their armor glowed silver and blue like the ship's, and looked far more advanced than anything on Earth. They moved with perfect coordination, marching in steady rhythm toward her house. Mira stepped backward, fear rising in her chest. "Why are they coming here?" she whispered. The soldiers reached the front yard, and then, unexpectedly, all of them knelt. Her fear froze into confusion. One of the soldiers stood up. He removed his helmet, revealing a face that was almost human, except for faint scales along his jawline, and the glowing eyes that looked like bright gold. He placed his hand over his chest in a respectful gesture. "Human girl Mira," he said calmly. His voice was deep and clear, almost musical. "We come in peace." Myra's mouth opened slightly. "Peace? You're aliens?" He nodded. "We are the Draconar. We serve the elder dragon Theros." Her heart skipped. She blinked. "Theros? The old man?" The soldier bowed his head lower. "He is no old man. He is Lord Theros, last of the elder dragons and ruler of the 12 starships." Mira stared at him, completely speechless. The soldier continued. "We followed his signal. He revealed his location earlier today. When an elder dragon reveals himself, we are duty-bound to arrive at once." "Why come here?" she whispered. The soldier lifted his eyes, glowing softly. "Because you are the human who helped him." Mira felt her body tense. "Helped him? I just paid for his groceries." "To you it was small," the soldier said. "But to him, it meant more than you could imagine. Elder dragons rarely show weakness. For him to accept help from a human, it is a sign of deep honor." Mira shook her head slowly, still trying to understand. "But why kneel? Why land all these ships here?" The soldier lowered his voice. "Because you showed kindness to our elder. And anyone who shows kindness to an elder dragon becomes someone we must protect." Myra's eyes widened. "Protect? From what?" Before he could answer, a loud crack of energy exploded in the sky. Everyone looked upward. Dark shapes appeared far above the clouds, sharp, angular ships with red lights flashing like warning eyes. The golden-eyed soldier's face hardened. "They found us." "Who?" Mira asked, fear rising again. "The enemies of our people," he said. "And they are very dangerous." The 12 ships around her house shifted their wings of light, forming a protective barrier. The ground rumbled as they activated their shields. The soldier turned back to Mira and placed his hand over his heart once more. "We came here for the Rose," he said. "But now we are here for you too." Before she could speak, a second ramp opened across the yard. A soft glow spilled out. A tall figure wrapped in a dark cloak stepped down. Mira felt her heart stop. The figure walked slowly toward her, each step calm and steady. When he reached her door, he lowered his hood. It was the old man from the grocery store. But now his eyes glowed bright gold, much brighter than before. His face looked stronger, more regal, though still marked by age. "Mira," he said softly. She stared at him, stunned. "The Rose?" He nodded gently. "I did not wish for you to be involved," he said. "But your kindness, it changed everything." She looked around at the massive ships, the kneeling soldiers, the enemy vessels appearing in the sky, and she whispered, "What is happening?" The Rose took a slow breath. "A storm is coming, and because you helped me when I was weak, you are now part of a much bigger story." Mira felt the world around her spinning. 12 starships, alien soldiers, an elder dragon disguised as a man, enemy ships drawing closer, and all because she paid for groceries. Her heart raced, but she stood still. Theros looked at her with eyes full of ancient warmth. "Do not fear," he said. "You showed courage before. You can show it again." The sky above them crackled with red lightning as the enemy ships descended. The unexpected had arrived, and Myra's ordinary life was gone forever. The air around Myra's house felt heavy, as if the whole world was holding its breath. The blue lights in the 12-star ships glowed brighter, forming a protective circle that wrapped around her yard like a shield. The sky above crackled again as the enemy ships moved lower, their dark shapes sharp and threatening. Mira stood close to her door, her hands shaking a little, but she did not back away. Theros stood in front of her, still wearing the old cloak, but there was something different about him now. His back seemed straighter, his eyes brighter, and the air around him shimmered with a strange energy. He turned his head slowly toward her. "Mira," he said softly, "you'll see something now that humans were never meant to see." She swallowed hard. Fear twisted in her chest, but she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. He took a small step forward and lifted his hand. His fingers trembled, not from weakness, but from the weight of the moment. The soldiers around him lowered their heads, as if they already knew what was coming. Draconis closed his eyes. For a second, everything became silent. Then the air rippled. Light began to glow around his body. At first it was faint, like a spark, but then it grew brighter, spreading across his clothes and skin. The old cloak lifted as if caught by an invisible wind. The glow grew strong, blue, gold, and silver all mixing in a swirling pattern. Mira gasped as the glow wrapped around him. His shape started to shift. His shoulders widened. His spine arched. His arms stretched. His skin shimmered like hot metal. The cloak tore apart as wings sprouted from his back, massive wings made of glowing scales and light. The gentle old man she met at the store was gone. Before her stood a dragon. He was enormous, but not too large for her yard. His body shone with gold and silver scales. His wings spread wide, making the ground shake. His tail curved behind him, long and powerful. His eyes glowed like twin suns, warm and ancient. Mira felt her breath stop in her throat. She had imagined dragons in stories, scary, violent creatures. But Draconis was not like that. Even in his true form, he looked wise, calm, and full of a deep sadness that came from many years of living. The soldiers bowed deeply, pressing their fists to the ground. "Lord Draconis," they said together. Draconis lowered his great head and touched the ground gently with his claws. His voice echoed in the air, deep and rich. "Rise. The time for honor is not over. The time for protection is here." The soldiers stood again, their armor reflecting the light from his wings. Mira stared up at him, unable to move or speak. She felt tiny in front of him, like a small leaf under a huge tree. But she did not feel scared. She felt safe. Draconis looked down at her. "You see my true self," he said quietly. "The form I have hidden for years." Mira tried to speak, but her voice trembled. Why did you hide?" His wings folded slowly. "Because my kind is rare. Elder dragons are hunted by many who want our power. I came here to protect this world from danger, to watch from the shadows." He lifted his head toward the red lights in the sky. "But now I must fight in the open." Mira felt worry rise again. "But you said you were weak." Draconis exhaled softly, and a warm wind brushed over her. "I am old, yes, but even fading light can shine bright when needed." The enemy ships roared closer. Their red lights flashed like angry eyes. One fired a shot, a bolt of red energy that streaked across the sky. The Draconis ships immediately raised their shields. A bright blue dome flickered around Myra's house, blocking the attack. The ground vibrated with the impact. The golden-eyed soldier stepped beside Mira. "We must move you to safety." But Mira shook her head. "I'm not leaving him." Draconis looked at her, and for a moment his huge eyes softened. "You are brave," he said. "Braver than many warriors I have known." More enemy ships appeared above, darkening the sky. Draconis opened his wings wide, and a bright glow formed along his body. "I will not let them harm this world." He rose into the air, slow but steady, like a great lantern lifting into the sky. His scales shimmered, and the air hummed with powerful energy. The Draconis soldiers readied their weapons, forming lines. Mira watched him, her heart tight. Even in his true form, she could see he was tired. Every movement looked heavy, but he kept rising. "Draconis," she whispered. Above, the enemy ships prepared another attack. Red energy gathered between their metal arms. Draconis faced them, wings beating gently. The golden-eyed soldier looked at Mira. He is using the last of his strength. He will fight even if he falls. Mira shook her head. "No, he can't fight alone." She stepped forward, standing at the front of her yard. She didn't know what she could do. She was just a human girl, but her heart felt strong. She refused to let the person she helped face danger alone. Draconis sensed her presence and looked down from the sky. Their eyes met. In her eyes, he saw courage. In his eyes, she saw pain, but also hope. Then the enemy ships fired again. A huge red blast sped toward him. Draconis reacted fast. He spun his wings forward, creating a shield of glowing light. The attack hit it with a violent crash, lighting up the sky. The soldier whispered, "He cannot hold forever." Mira clenched her fists. She didn't know how, but she knew she would not let him lose. Not after he revealed his truth to her. Not after he trusted her kindness. The roast roared, a powerful, ancient sound that shook the air. His wings flared brighter. The battle was beginning. And for the first time, Mira understood something important. The old man she helped was not only a dragon. He was a protector. And now, she had to find a way to protect him too. The sun was already low when the starships finally settled in the open field near Myra's home. The glowing engines dimmed one by one, leaving only a soft hum in the air. The ground still trembled from the landing, but Mira stood steady. She was tired, scared, and overwhelmed, yet something inside her stayed firm. She had helped Granhose when he was only a stranger in a dusty store. Now he stood beside her in his true form, a massive dragon with scales like dark metal and eyes that shone like blue fire. The elite soldiers stepped out of ships in perfect formation. They were tall, armored in shining plates, and moved with careful, trained precision. They did not aim their weapons, but their presence was still enough to make any normal person shake. Mira felt her heart beat faster, but she didn't step back. The lead commander walked forward. His armor carried markings that glowed faintly. His voice was strong but calm. "Granhose Valen, High Elder of the Draken Court," he said. "We came as soon as your signal reached us." Granhose lowered his huge head. "I did not call for rescue," he said. "I call for judgment." Mira looked up at him, confused. "Judgment? For what?" Granhose turned his glowing eyes toward her. "For failing my people. For hiding on your world. For being too weak to protect the last hope of my kind." The commander nodded slowly. "You abandoned your post," he said. "You vanished after the fall of the outer nest. Many believed you dead." "I wish to be," Granhose answered quietly. Myra's chest tightened. She stepped forward, surprising even herself. "He is not weak," she said. Her voice shook, but she kept speaking. "He was hurt. He was alone. Anyone would break after losing everything." The commander looked at her carefully, studying her like she was something unexpected. "Human, you speak boldly for someone so young." "I speak the truth," Mira said. "And if you came here to punish him, then you should know one thing. He protected me. He protected this planet. He didn't run away from danger today." Granhose stared at her with wide, glowing eyes. But Mira didn't stop. And he is not alone anymore. For a long moment, the field was silent. The soldiers watched. The commander's face stayed unreadable. Then he gave a slow nod. "You are not like the other humans we have observed," he said. "You speak with courage beyond your size." "I only speak because someone must," Mira replied. Granhose lifted his massive wings slightly, then folded them again. He looked almost hopeful. The commander stepped closer, raising his hand toward the dragon. "Elder Granhose," he said, "if you wish to return, the path is open, but if you choose exile, we will honor it." Granhose lowered his head, unsure. His voice was soft, almost fragile. "I do not know what choice to make." Mira placed a hand on his giant claw. Her small fingers touched the cool metal-like scales, and the dragon trembled slightly. "You don't have to hide anymore," she said. "But you don't have to go if you're not ready. You can stay here, or you can return with them. Whatever you choose, you decided for your future, not your past." Her words struck something deep inside him. His eyes softened. "I never met a human like you, and I never met a dragon like you," she said with a small smile. The commander watched quietly. He then looked at his soldiers and gave a brief signal. They stepped back, giving space rather than pressure. "The human speaks with wisdom," he said. "A rare quality." Granhose looked between Mira and the ships, torn between two worlds. But slowly, he straightened his neck and spread his wings wide. The wind swirled around him as he rose to his full height. "I will return," he said, "not to run from my grief, but to rebuild what was lost. But I will return with new purpose." He lowered his head again, turning toward Mira. "And I will never forget you." Mira nodded, though her throat tightened. "You don't have to forget," she whispered. "Just come back someday." Granhose let out a deep, steady exhale. "I will." The soldiers prepared the boarding platform. The commander paused before stepping away. "Human," he said, "because of your kindness, the Draken court owes a debt. If ever you are in danger, speak the name Granhose Valen. Our ships will hear." Mira blinked in surprise. I don't think I'll ever need starships." He smiled faintly. "Few expect to." Granhose moved toward the ship, each step heavy but certain. Before entering, he turned his head one last time. "Farewell, Mira." "Farewell, Granhose," she said softly. The starships lifted into the sky, glowing brighter and brighter until they shot upward like 12 falling stars reversed into rising ones. The wind from their engines pushed Myra's hair back, and then the sky was empty again. Silence fell over the field. Mira hugged her arms around herself. She felt small again, but not helpless. Something inside her had changed. She had faced dragons and starships and soldiers from another world. She had stood her ground. She had spoken for a creature who thought he deserved nothing. And she realized something important. Kindness was not small. A simple act, even one as small as paying for groceries, could shake the stars. She smiled to herself as she turned back toward her home. The night air was cool, and the world felt wider than ever before. Somewhere far above the clouds, a dragon was flying home because a human girl believed in him. Human triumph did not always mean victory in battle. Sometimes it meant offering hope when no one else would.